I'm John, and this is my story, a tale of betrayal, revenge, and redemption. I've always been a rock of my family, a devoted husband to Rachel, and a loving father to our 10-year-old son, Alex. We had it all, a beautiful home, a successful career, and a perfect family. But behind the facade of a perfect life, a storm was brewing. It started with whispers, late-night texts, hushed conversations, and a sense that something was off. Rachel, my wife of 28 years, was pulling away, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. At first, I thought maybe I was just being paranoid, that maybe I was reading too much into it. But the feeling persisted. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe I was just stressed out from work. But the signs were there. Rachel would be on her phone late at night, texting someone she wouldn't identify. She'd be gone for hours, supposedly running errands or meeting friends. But something didn't add up. I remember the first time I saw the text message. It was a mistake, a simple mistake. Rachel had left her phone on the kitchen counter, and I had picked it up to check the time. That's when I saw it, a text message from an unknown number, a message that made my heart skip a beat. "Can't wait to see you tonight," it said. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who the message was from or what it meant, but I knew I had to find out. So I did what any desperate husband would do. I hired a private investigator. The photos they gave me were like a punch to the gut. Rachel and Mark, the new coach of Alex's little league team, laughing together, touching, smiling. My world crumbled, but I didn't let it show. I vowed to protect my son and make sure Mark paid for what he'd done. That's when the game began. I volunteered as assistant coach, stepping onto the same field where Mark held court. For 6 months, I stood beside him, smiling, joking, and secretly gathering evidence. Text messages, voice recordings, and eyewitness accounts. Mark had no idea he was playing with fire. But the real kicker? Mark had no idea I knew. Rachel thought her secret was safe, and Mark believed he was untouchable. They were wrong. I documented every meeting, every glance, every private conversation. The evidence piled up, and I waited for the perfect moment to strike. As I stepped onto the field as assistant coach, I felt a sense of unease. I was about to spend the next 6 months pretending to be something I'm not. I was about to smile and laugh with the man who was destroying my marriage. But I had a plan. I was going to gather evidence, and I was going to use it to take Mark down. The first few weeks were tough. I had to pretend to be interested in Mark's coaching strategies, and I had to pretend to be friendly with him. But as time went on, I started to get comfortable. I started to enjoy the game, and I started to enjoy the deception. Mark was a good coach. I'll give him that. He was charismatic and confident, and he had the kids eating out of his hand. But I saw through it. I saw the way he looked at Rachel, the way he touched her arm, the way he smiled at her. I saw it all, and I documented it all. As the weeks turned into months, the evidence piled up. I had text messages, voice recordings, and eyewitness accounts. I had photos and videos. I had everything I needed to take Mark down. But I was patient. I waited for the perfect moment to strike. As the months went by, I became more and more comfortable in my role as assistant coach. I had gained Mark's trust, and he had no idea that I was secretly gathering evidence against him. But it wasn't just Mark, who was oblivious to my true intentions. Rachel was completely unaware of what I was doing, and she continued to play her part in the charade. She would come to the games and smile at me, pretending like everything was normal. She would talk to Mark and laugh with him, and I would watch from the sidelines, seething with anger. But I kept my cool. I knew that I had to play the long game if I wanted to take Mark down. As the evidence piled up, I started to notice other things. I noticed the way Mark would touch Rachel's arm or shoulder, the way he would whisper in her ear. I noticed the way she would look at him, the way she would smile at him. It was clear that they were deeply in love, and I felt like I was losing my mind. But I didn't let it show. I kept my cool and I kept gathering evidence. One day, Mark approached me after practice and asked me if I wanted to grab a beer with him. I agreed, thinking that it would be a good opportunity to get more information out of him. We went to a local bar and started talking about the team. Mark was bragging about his coaching skills, and I was pretending to be impressed. But then he started to talk about Rachel. "She's an amazing woman," he said, smiling. "I'm so lucky to have her in my life." I felt my blood boil, but I kept my cool. I smiled and nodded, pretending like I was happy for him. "Yeah, she's great," I said. "I'm a lucky guy, too." Mark laughed and patted me on the back. "You're a good guy, John," he said. "I'm glad we're friends." I smiled and nodded, but inside I was seething with anger. The day of reckoning finally arrived. I had gathered enough evidence to take Mark down, and I was ready to use it. I filed for divorce and requested full custody of Alex. Mark was served with the papers, and he was shocked. He had no idea that I knew about his affair with Rachel, and he had no idea that I had been secretly gathering evidence against him. The court date arrived, and I walked into the courtroom with a folder full of evidence. Mark was there, looking confident and smug, but his confidence was short-lived. I presented my evidence, and the judge was shocked. The text messages, the voice recordings, the eyewitness accounts. It was all there. Mark's face turned red as he realized that he had been caught. Rachel was crying, and Alex was looking at me with pride. The judge ruled in my favor, granting me full custody of Alex and limiting Rachel's visitation rights. Mark lost his coaching position, his reputation, and his marriage. As I walked out of the courtroom with Alex, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I had taken revenge on the man who had destroyed my marriage, and I had protected my son. Mark tried to approach me, but I turned him away. "You should have thought about the consequences before you slept with my wife," I said, looking him straight in the eye. Mark looked away, and I knew that I had won. The revenge was sweet, and I had come out on top. Life went on, and Alex and I started to heal. We moved to a new house, and I started to rebuild my life. Rachel tried to contact me, but I didn't want anything to do with her. I had moved on, and I was happy. Mark, on the other hand, was not so lucky. He lost his job, his reputation, and his marriage. He was left with nothing, and he had no one to blame but himself. As for me, I had finally found closure. I had taken revenge on the man who had destroyed my marriage, and I had protected my son. I was at peace, and I was ready to move on with my life.